Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Sulaiman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the 7 seals. Let's see if we can bring in our audio audience. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about Gog. Gog, G-O-G. See, because this is a figure that reigns very prominently in the end times, which we are there now. But you have all these people prognosticating. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're twisting and distorting the scriptures. And I'm going to show you a brief clip, and then we'll continue talking. So, listeners, leave script, right? And then I'll follow up. Now, brothers and sisters, well, let me play the script first. Okay, brothers and sisters. Now, if you listen to that, it's all BS. Everything they tell you about Iran and false Israel is all 100% bullshit. Stop the bullshit. There's no bullshit zone. See, if you listen to that person and he tells you straight face and you hear the same story, you understand these people are chronic liars. That's all they do. The scriptures tell you that all they do is lie. But see, they have you thinking they're angels of light. They say Satan can appear as an angel of light, and that's what they've been doing. Because they're telling you this is light. But remember, this is Satan's world. You got to get that through your head. This is not Jesus' world. It's Satan's world. Jesus told you, he warned you. He said, Satan is the god of this world. Satan told him when he threatened, when we tried to tempt him, he didn't say, I have control of some of the nations of the world, and you can have them if you submit to me. He said, I have control of all of them. All of them. He said, some except America. He said, all of them. And that's what you don't understand. He said they were deceived. Gog and Magog would deceive the whole world. But you somehow you think that didn't happen. Or you think it's not happening. Oh, well, Holy Spirit, see, it's talk to me and all this stuff. And you look around, is this the world of Jesus? This world of Satan. Are these people followers of Jesus? I mean, how did he get this land? How did he get powerful? By doing the works of Jesus or the works of Satan? I mean, how did they get this country? They stole it. They killed off its inhabitants. They brought us over here and destroyed us. It tells you, it says, the devil seeks to kill, steal, and destroy. Isn't that exactly what the Europeans have been doing for the last 500 years? Stealing, killing, and destroying. That's how they came to power. No, they didn't build Europe. They was fleeing from Europe because Europe was a shithole that they had made while they're 1,000 years into the abyss. You need to read chapter 20 again very carefully. Well, that's European history. The resurrection was the resurrection of Abraham's Islamic empire. Abraham is the one that built Mecca, Medina. He's the one that started the pilgrimage. He did all those things. They will not tell you that. The Bible tells you that, but they will not tell you that because they don't want you to connect up with Islam, with the Muslims. See, because if that's the case, then that will reveal who they are. So, and you will be confused by chapter 20 because they're telling you chapter 20 of Revelations is in the future, when it has passed. Because if you knew it had passed, you try to go and try to figure out who was involved. And then you had a different, you know who's who. Because it says there was a resurrection. That was a resurrection. That's all Prophet Muhammad did. Resurrect Abraham's. See, most of you already tuned off at that point. Oh man, he's talking about Prophet Muhammad. See, I don't hear about this stuff. See, they got you. Negro butts. See, he resurrected Abraham's Islamic empire. That's all he did. He didn't build Islam. He didn't start Islam. He's not the original Islam. None of that kind of stuff. He resurrected Abraham's Islamic empire. Because Abraham definitely was not a Jew, and he definitely was not a Christian. What was he? He preceded those things. So that's the case. So they won't tell you that, but they know it, and you can easily find out historically, because that's the region Abraham came out of. See. So they won't tell you that. And so he resurrected, and the resurrection of the Abraham's Islamic empire was forced the Europeans back in Europe. It had them bottled up in Europe for 1,000 years. Heard about the Crusades? They were trying to fight their way out. They eventually did it after 1,000 years. But 1,000 years, it was bottled up in Europe, and Europe was diseased, impoverished, tyrannical. I mean, it was a shithole. Period. So if they're the great people, God's people, and they're so wise and everything, how come they didn't turn Europe into a shining star, a shining light on the hill? No, it's shithole that everybody's trying to get away from. That's why they went all over the world, because they had nothing. They was poor, impoverished, tyrannical, right? Evil, sinful, and they looked around, and everybody, they went to China, Africa, every place, and took everybody's stuff, because they're a predator nation. See, they're a predator nation. But they won't tell you that, and that's history. But they don't want you to see it that way. See, because they distort it. How they have you see it? See, they go there, they cover it, they say, no. See, we the spiritual see Abraham, and America's the promised land. And black folks, how they became black? They became black because Adam and Eve was white, and Noah was white, but he had a son, Seth, that was just immoral act. And so all his son, Shem rather, and all his children was cursed, his descendants was cursed to be black and slaves forever. So that's how they get around that. So therefore, they didn't do anything evil because they was doing God's will. See, it was just promised land. They was getting rid of riffraff. See, Native Americans, they was just getting rid of them because they were sitting on God's land. This is promised land to them. See, and we was cursed. So whatever they did to us, it was okay because we was cursed. See, that's how we got black. That's the story. It's a lie, but it works because it makes them look like they're good people. They didn't do anything wrong, and they try to maintain that for the basic population because they want the basic population to feel they're good people. That they're going to heaven because everyone dies. They're all in heaven looking down. See, but that's not true. See, and the lie is fading. Because lies like ice, right? Exposed to the sun. See? And the greatest enemy of ice is the sun. And now the sun is shining. And the ice people, we've been in an ice age for 6,000 years. A season of ice for 6,000 years, the ice age. Ice people, they're the personification of the ice age. See? And they had us frozen. See? And they built ice castles, ice fortresses. America's one of the greatest ice fortress, see? But I don't care how hard the ice is, how big that fortress is, when exposed to the sun, it starts melting. Its power starts draining away. And they feel their power draining away, see? But they got you believing God. See, there's a lot of ways to look at this because they show you, if you just take us, brothers and sisters, you had the brains to do it. You're the wisest people on the planet, but they programmed you. They made you Negro butts. It took 64 years to do it. They couldn't do you directly. They did your children. Just think, if you took people's children, they're doing it right now. See, what are they doing with this scare agenda? they're trying to get the children. They know they can't get the parents, so they're trying to teach the children. So the children grow up with it, and that'll be the end of it. They did the same thing to us. They took the children, are separated from the parents. Children don't know anything, so they grow up and say, you an ape. See, you look just black, just like those apes there. You're not human. See? And you got to work, do what we tell you to do. And it took 64 years to process to do it. And after 64 years, the first Negro butts came off the assembly line. Fully programmed. See? And stamped, certified. See? James Richardson. See? Bruce Davison. See? Amos Blackstone. See? Those brands, not names. Because if your name was James Richardson and you went to another slave master who a blackhead, your name became James Blackhead. Because it was a way to, it was like a brand to say who you belong to. And now you walk around proudly with those because you're still Negro butt. And you're telling everybody you're still Negro butt. If you walk with those names, still telling everybody you're Negro butt. See, you're Negro butt. You're just a robot, wound up, programmed to do whatever master tells you to do. And that's what you're doing, right to your death. You tell the robot to walk off the cliff, it will walk off the cliff. And that's what they're telling you to do, because they're setting you up for a cliff. All the stuff we can break down. Take this thing about Gog. Now see, Gog, they're telling you Gog is Russia because they're trying to set this thing up. Gog is not Russia. See? Because when you come, it says, if you read chapter 20 and stop believing and stop being blind, see, because you're blind now. Why are you blind? You're blind because they took your foresight away. How do they take your foresight away? Because they're telling you scripture is history. See, so you think it's hindsight when it's foresight. Farrakhan doing the same thing because he's trying to cover up who he is. They're taking your foresight away from your foresight. Those scriptures is your foresight. It was given by your ancestors for your foresight so you can see ahead so you can avoid all the bullshit that's coming down. But they tell you that's hindsight. See? And so therefore, you think it's in the past, so you walk around blind. The blind leading the blind because they can't read it. Even if they had it won't give them foresight because they don't have the ability to understand it. They've had the book for over 2,000 years and they have no idea what it means. So let's take this for instance. I don't want to go too much detail here. But take for instance, now if you read chapter 20, see, and if you want that script I just had you read just now, I'm going to go back to that in a minute, the script I just played, right? It's about Gog, right? But according to him, Gog is destroyed. Gog is destroyed, totally, utterly destroyed. That's what they're telling you, right? See? But then they tell you chapter 20 is in the future. So if Gog was destroyed, then how come Gog and Magog comes out of the bottomless pit? How come Gog and Magog emerges again to take over the whole planet? It says Gog and Magog, right? They would take over. It would be 2 world empires coming out that bottomless pit. 2 world empires, just 2. There's only been 2 world empires in so-called known history. Only 2 world empires. Where have they been? I'm not talking about continental empires like China or what do you call it? The Genghis Khan. Right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about global empires. There's only been 2. Britain and America. Only 2. See? That's Gog and Magog. Magog means the mother of Gog. It's only been 2, those 2. And they've come out and they've been ruling for the last 500 years. First Britain, and then America superseded Britain. 2 world empires. There's Gog and Magog. America's Gog and Britain is Magog. See? So they can't explain that. Because if that what they say is true, then if millennia is the future, then how can they rise up out of there unless somehow they brought back from death? He just said they're going to be destroyed. That's what he just told you. Because they try to tell you, they're trying to divert, because they cannot see America as bad. This is what he said. America's the light of the world. If America didn't exist, it'd be a bad place. Who started all the wars? How many wars have Russia started? How many wars have Russia started? How many wars has Iran started? How many wars have Iran started? How many wars Russia started? How many wars anybody started other than America and Britain and the Europeans, specifically America? America's been at war all your lifetime. Everyone's listening to this. America's been at war in one way or another your whole lifetime. So how do they explain that? Oh, well, they're at war because they think they're going and save people. See, they went to Afghanistan and saved the women from the... Ain't none of that damn business. They said they got deserved right. Well, what if somebody came here and made war against them for enslaving us? What would they have said then? See? What would they have said then? See? I mean, they did that for 400 years. Not 40 years, not 4 years or 40 years, for 400 years. But we the light of the world. We go and save people. And everywhere they went, they caused destruction. Iraq, destruction. Iraq, they destroyed all the infrastructure, right? Libya, a pearl in Africa, destroyed. Now they got slave markets and carrying on there. Totally destroyed everywhere they went. Destruction was in their wake. But we the light of the world. See? And they want to tell everybody to be like them. And their people love to hear that because that makes them feel good. See, 'cause we good. See, we good people. We helping people. Everybody went to cause destruction. They surely destroyed our nation. They surely destroyed our nation. You know, they did. So my soul had to be resurrected because it was totally destroyed. That's like God had to re-resurrect it. You know, the four winds. I'm going to do the whole presentation on that pretty soon, but I'm taking my time because it's very complicated. Very complicated. See? That's the 9 plagues. It's about to happen. I need to talk about it. See? I need to talk about it in a way that makes sense without telling them, because I can't, because telling you is telling them, and I can't tell them. And not on this, now on this level, because it's too close, right? It's too much information there. So I'm trying to work it out where I can tell you, safely tell you enough, right, where you understand. But Gog, see, Gog is America. They say, oh, how you identify God? And say, well, they say, because they say, well, you take all the measurements from Israel. See, false Israel. They say God measures, that's like their compass. So when he gives the directions, false Israel, see, I'm sure how the lies they're saying. All false Israel is from that point that they're taking the projection from. So if you say it's north, if it's north, that means north of Israel. False Israel, Jerusalem. See? So that means God was supposed to be in the far north. They said, see, that means Russia's north of Israel. He said, far north. See, so I'm going to tell you, I show you how to lie. Because America's also far north. See, if they just say north, right, that'd be one thing. But far north, you can't get more north of Israel than America. Because it's far north. It's north, plus it's northwest. See, it's about as far as north as you can get from the between Russia. So they won't say, oh no, it's Russia. Russia's Gog. See. But see, that's another lie there about how they make the measurements, because they talk about in January about the king of the north and the king of the south, right? Where they say the king of the south, right? That's Iran. See, king of the south is Iran, because that's not true either, because the king of the south represents America. But anyway, if you understand Daniel, but they say king of the south, that's Iran, and the king of the north, that's probably Europe or something, right? But Iran is not south of Israel. So that's a lie. They tell you that too. You use Israel as false Israel as a what do you call it? A landmark. It's a lie, because you don't ask questions and you just listen to anything they say. You don't. They say it and you accept it because they've taught you that whatever they say is golden, and so you don't question. You don't ask questions, because if you start asking questions and demand proof, you would deprogram yourself. And you need to be deprogrammed, brothers and sisters, because they got you programmed to self-destruct. They got you programmed to self-destruct. You're in self-destruct mode right now. They got you programmed to self-destruct. Right now is your time. The spring has come, the winter's over, and you're in a spring thaw, and what are you doing? See? Instead of thawing out, you grab hold to the winter people. So you can't be thrown out. Because how you can be thrown out if you're going to hold on to ice? You're going to put yourself, you're a steak that's been thrown out, right? But you're going to jump into an ice bag. See? That's what they're doing. And they got the women coming, grab hold of you, right? Ice women, and you grab hold of them, and therefore you can't hear this message. You can't hear this. You can't hear the sun. You can't hear the sun. See, you can't feel it because they're blocking it. Because ice is blocking it, and you gravitate towards them. Like I said, at the gym, right? Gym I was going to, I made a whole presentation about that. I says, all the Negroes came to Negro bus, all of them. It was somewhere between 10 and 20 of them. All of them had white women, every one. I didn't see one that didn't have it. See, what's that all about? See? Because they know they're melting. They know they're melting. See? And so they gravitate onto you. You see? Because you still frozen. And so for you, as long as you hold on to them, you can't receive the heat of the sun to thaw you out. Gog. They're so, it's up to you, brothers and sisters, because you don't need to go through this. You don't need to see the hell that's coming upon this planet. Not planet, but this country. You don't need, right, to go through it. But most of you are going to go through it because you ain't paying attention. It says, lots of my people, millions of our people are going to be lost for lack of knowledge. See? Because now it's spring thaw, and you still holding on to the ice mounds. Because there's ice people. They were strong during the winter. I keep talking about personification. There's personification of the winter, right? Ice people. See? They were prosperous and thriving because of the winter. The winter empowered them. But the winter froze us. And now spring has come, and now it's evaporating them. Their power is waning. Right? We've been thawed out, and our power is growing. But they don't want you to know that, and you're going to destroy you before you come into your power. That's God, brothers and sisters. Read chapter 20 again. What's going on over there right now with Russia? Well, Russia's going to figure figuratively into what's going on because they're going to Armageddon is a war between European countries. That's what Armageddon is. It's a war between European countries. See? But the war is ignited in the Middle East. It's ignited in the Middle East. And I've been teaching this for 30 years, and now all this stuff is coming into focus. Because a lot of things I was saying back then, because 1979, right, when Iran got rid of the Shah, right? That's 11 years before I broke the seals, right? Once I broke the seals, I said how Iran's going to figure prominently in time. Nobody saw that coming back then. See? They would throw Iran down, right? America would take it and invade the Middle East. See? Have control of it. They'd be the powers in the Middle East. They'd be the powers in the Middle East. But it says, see, the Middle East represents heaven. There's no mystery heaven out there beyond the sun. Brothers and sisters, stop the bullshit. They're telling you this stuff. They have you think all these illusions. They have you in your mind in an illusionary world. But while they're controlling the real world, they're not trying to control this spatial world they're telling you about. This mystery world they're telling you about. They're not trying to control that. They're not bringing anything to existence from these illusionary worlds they're telling you about, the illusionary realities. They're bringing things into existence from mathematics. Everything they bring into existence from mathematics, not bringing into existence from Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, animism. They're not bringing anything in reality because those things in reality don't exist. If they did, why can't you bring something to reality that operates on those principles? Everything comes around. It operates on mathematical principles. Everywhere you look, you see nothing but operating on mathematical principles, including yourself. Because they find you DNA, you operate on a mathematical principle. Before they tell you, oh, you come in spirit that God made in the womb. And now they've realized that when they look in the telescope, in the microscope, there ain't nobody waving back in this and they make somebody in the womb. See, all they see is DNA down there. And they can manipulate that. They can manipulate that different DNA, affect what the outcome is. But they still telling you, oh no, God created you in the womb. Who created test tube babies? They can make test tube babies. They can clone babies. They can clone people. So who made them? They got your head in this way up in the sky somewhere. You know, that, like I don't like to talk about movies and stuff, right? But that movie Matrix is a good example. See, they was using your energy and everything else while they had you in a blind reality that wasn't true, but you thought it was true, and they had you, and you was being destroyed while you was dreaming. You was being destroyed as you were dreaming. That you was having all this great world, this great reality, and you was being destroyed as you were dreaming. And they taught us American dream. I mean, it's not real. Dreams is not real. You say, oh, no, you better read that word carefully. A dream is not real. American dream is not real. Nothing is real. Anyway, even if just think of it. And I don't care how you look at it on any level. I mean, how did they get this country? They steal it? I mean, it's not theirs. How can they give you something that's not theirs? They stole it even by their own law. They would not take and put America on trial in their own courts. They won't do it. Because if they did it, if they applied the same principle they applied to everybody else, America would be in prison and be on death row, already burnt up. They won't do it. Because they stole this country, don't belong to them. They wiped out its inhabitants. They said the devils were, they ain't devils no more. What does the Bible say? Devils would go out to seek to steal, kill, and destroy. Isn't that exactly what the Europeans did? Well, we can't call them devils no more. Elijah Muhammad don't do it. No, he didn't say no such thing because I was there. Well, I wasn't part of the conversation, but I got a brain. It's like that woman, right? She said, I mean, they was talking about this swimming contest, right? And they had this man claiming he was a woman. He's whipping all the women in this swimming contest. And the woman says, "There's a man there." So one of the bystanders says, "Are you a biologist?" She said, "Hell no, I ain't no biologist." She said, "No." She said, "Hell no." She said, I'm not a vet either, but I know what a dog is." Boy, she hit that one. You see? So, this tells you that's what they would do. And that's exactly what they did. But they put on other people. Oh man, look at these dictators. See, they're doing all this bad stuff. See, I mean, we can go on and on, brothers and sisters. What's a dictator? Dictator tells you what to do. That's what dictate. They dictate what you should be doing, right? See, that's like a king. King tells you what to do. That's not democracy. The king said, and whose authority that the king came in? The Bible says kings come under the authority of God. So we should obey them. That's what God says. That's what the Bible says. Kings have under the authority of God. They come in power under authority. That's what the Bible says. You say you believe the Bible? But they say they don't like kings. Well, that's what God says. He don't say he's about no president, no senate, no congressman. He said a God. He said a king, kingdom. That's why we're going to build a kingdom. See? But we don't like kings. See? We're democracy. We hate dictators. Ain't Jesus a dictator? Isn't he going to tell you what to do? If you don't do what he tells you to do, what happens? You're going to hell. He said his way is the only way. There ain't no vote, there ain't no decision. See how they lie? They're against God. They worship Satan, but they can't come out and tell you that. They can't come out and say, well, we worship Satan. Right? A crime boss will come out and tell you, I'm a crime boss. He looks like he's a saint. The Bible said, Satan can appear as an angel of light. They can't come and tell you that. It says they worship Satan. If you understand the angel tells you that. See? But I tell you that. They tell you that right away. You know, most people, right? Some people probably go along with it. Most people say, hey, I can't be part of anything bad, even though they're part of everything bad. Because there's nothing good. You let that clown that I paid the piece on, oh man, America's, if this country, this world without America would be a dangerous place. Hell, how was it before America? Was it a dangerous place before that? Was there a disease? Remember when they came over here, these people didn't even have a common cold. See? And you see people how they lick dogs and lick the ass and everything else. You know, we had a movie, what do they call it, movie, The Shooter. He's drinking, he get the dog drink from his beer, and then he don't clean off the bottle, nothing. He just drink it right off behind the dog. And where, you know, syphilis and all that stuff where do it come from? From sleeping animals. These people are sick. And you listen to that guy, he's talking like, you listen to him, you think, oh man, like they were saints and oh, the world is evil. And they don't tell you the truth, just Iran. Iran ain't attacked anybody. Iran was attacked. Iran was a so-called democracy back in the 50s, and they got, the CIA got rid of it because British Petroleum, the British, was taking their oil and said it was theirs because they developed it, and Iran said, that's our oil. So they got rid of the president, and they said, Shah, a dictator. See? He ruled until 79 for about 20, almost 30 years. Right? He oppressed the people and everything else. And he gave it all away to America, pretty much gave it away to them. That was the whole idea. Brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about a couple of things and then we're going to close out. See, they got long-term plans. God got long-term plans. They're not going to work because their time is over. But they're still planning. See? We know their time is over. They're starting to sense it. So they're making plans. They want to stay here. They know they can't stay in this biological world. Because biological world, they say it, they tell you. See, do you pay attention to anything? They're telling you we got global warming and climate control, all this stuff, right? And they said if that keeps on going, the climate is going to be totally, climate can totally destroy. I mean, the whole ecological system is going to be destroyed, right? And people be life will be impossible on the earth. For biological people, it'd be impossible. But if they do anything about it, they tell, oh man, it's only weeks away, it's only years away, and we don't do something at some point. If we don't do something, then there's nothing we can do. In other words, there's a critical point, a threshold that if we go past that, nothing that we can do. It's too late. See, but they do anything about it? They said, well, we voting and stuff. Are you buying that? Your house on fire, and you're saying, I mean, we got to vote. Well, we're going to call the fire department. We're going to get some water or something. Those people don't want to put that fire out. They trying to find excuses to let the house burn down. Because they got other plans. They want to build something else there or something. So they make it look like they didn't want to do something. Because they ain't doing, if they put into a vote, you know, people in the house, no, they'd be getting something out of it. If they really believe that, right, and they want to do something about it, they wouldn't be put into a vote. They didn't, when they went and invaded Iraq, they didn't put that to a vote. When they invaded Libya, they didn't put that to a vote. And what they're doing over in Iraq in Russia now with Ukraine, they ain't putting that to a vote because that's when they want to do something. But they ain't, oh, this is a vote, man, climate control. And they see it's messing the planet up. It says God will destroy those who are destroying Earth. And why are they doing that? And then they talking about nuclear war like it's like a you know, a little a bar fight. Because nuclear war would just finish it off. It won't be a nuclear war, but you know, they're planning it. Because they know they cannot, they got disease and everything else. They know they cannot, they're totally against this, they're alien to this biological system we developed. They've caused all kinds of trouble, so they destroyed Europe. They turned Europe into a shithole. It was famines, disease, and everything there. It was just Europe. There wasn't the whole world. They make it take the whole world. It was just Europe for 1,000 years. See, so they was good, profitable, industrious people. How come they ain't turned Europe into a shining example on the hill? They didn't. See, they went and took, they predator nation. See, they brought us over here because they were predators. They took this country, all the European empires, all of them was predator countries, predator nation. Rome, Greece, all of them. They took other people's stuff. Britain. They're predatory nations. Not industrious like they try to pretend they are. See? So they're going. They're trying. Thing is, they know they cannot survive in this biological world, and Biden he kind of tipped his hand, showed his hand. Because he says, and nobody paid attention to this. He says, man, they got this thing now where a mechanical hand now is totally mechanical, not biological, can touch something and feel it. He said, that was amazing. I've been telling you, they're trying to perfect this robotics thing, right? They call it a cyborg, where you have a mechanical body, electronic mechanical body, right? You have electronic controls, right? And you have but you install a physical brain. That's called a cyborg. And they rush like hell to build that. Because that's the only way you can survive, right, in this biological world. See? Because metal is not subject to disease and all that kind of stuff. See? And then once they do that, see, you say, well, why would they want to do that? Man, the world's all messed up. Because you remember, have you been paying attention? See video games and Elon Musk telling me he could put a chip into your brain. That means you can see the world like you want to see it. You press a button and you see the world like a paradise. It may be a sand dune, but you see a paradise. Right? You want intimate relations, you press a button, you have better than even with the real thing. That's what they're doing. And that world does not apply to you. That's their vision. See? Because they know they cannot exist in this biological world. That's why it's coming apart, and they know they can't do anything about it, because their whole way of thinking, their whole society, their whole technology is destructive to this society. They go back, oh man, how come the Egyptians didn't have the wheel? Well, in fact, they had more than the wheel, because if you look back at what they built, it's more sophisticated. They can't duplicate it here. But that's another story. How come they? Because those people wouldn't, because they knew if they built this kind of technology that America has, it would be destructive to the planet. You're going to take and put a whole factory into your house, right? You're going to put a furnace in your house, inside, smoking and everything else, and you won't be able to live it? This technology is alien to our society. It's totally alien to it. It's destructive. But they know that's the only way to take power. They got to continue it. So you two and two together. They plan. They know, understand what's going on. They know where they're going with this, but you don't know. And that's why you're a robot programmed to self-destruct, because you won't be in that world. They give you movies about that world, right? See, with robots and you look at, they build a technological world that's totally to build this world. The thing is, when they say they're gonna build all these different electric cars, that's bullshit. How you think they're gonna make the electric cars? What's the fuel they're gonna use to do it? They gotta use more fuel to make those electric batteries and everything than it does to operate these regular cars. That's bullshit. They're telling you. They're trying to keep you off guard to make you think they're doing something when they're doing something else, like a magician. He got you to look over right hand while they're doing something with his left hand. This is what's going on, brothers and sisters. This is God. See, he's trying to bring this mechanical electronic world. He's working on heavy and heavy. I didn't know he had got that far myself. That you actually, because you have a mechanical hand right now, but you can't feel with it. But now if they can make it where you can actually feel with it, send sense to the brain, where you actually sense it, then they're almost there. All they got to do is figure out how to attach the brain to it. And then they can live forever. Because the brain doesn't, it's not like the rest of the body. It doesn't reduce itself every 7 years. See? Like the body does. The body cells does. So if you can put that into this mechanical electromagnetic body, right, then every time something wears out, you just replace it. You can live as long as you want to. And you got time distortion, right? They get movies about it. So whereas you press a button, right, and you think you was in the Bahamas for 5 years and you only need 5 minutes. This is the world they're trying to bring in. And that world does not include you. See? So let's talk about another thing God got planned. See, I'm trying to tell you some of the things they're planning, so you can listen to it or not. That's up to you, brothers and sisters. See, but you see evidence of it all around you. But your head so far, Kobe's ass, and Michael, Michael says, right? Magic, and all these people, NBA, NFL. See, that you can't see anything. How's the view? Now, you like the odor? See? Because you don't have anything, you're still in Master's house. You're still on the plantation. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. But let's go on. See, they got a few things they got to take out. See, the first thing they want to take out communism. See, because communism, you know, well, I'm not going to go there. But I'll throw a little thing. You know, Karl Marx, they commented so much, right? But they said they loved the Jews so much, right? But you know, Karl Marx was a Jew. He almost started communism. So I thought that thought out to you. They're trying to cover it up now, but it's true. So you got this thing about Islam. Now, what you don't understand about Islam, their Islam, that's Sunnism. I don't really consider Islam because Islam is mathematics, Islam, and there's nothing mathematical about Sunnism. See, but we're, you know, but they're a stone in Gog's shoe. See, because God is holding up Satan, see, as the angel of light. See, because God is the one empowering Satan. See, you say, oh, well, I'm going to leave that there for you. You think about it. So the thing is they had set up Satan, right? Because he had to be an answer to the narrative that Elijah Muhammad said that we was a true seed of Abraham, which is dramatic. It was a nuclear blast, but you don't understand it. See, because they don't want you to understand that one. See, there's a shockwaves to the world. So they take false Israel and they had to take false Israel. They was burning up the day before. They was burning them up, literally. Right? Not just in Germany. They hate them here too. See? And all of a sudden their ass became honeypots and everybody was eating the honey. Overnight. Because they had to set them up because the counter that we're the true seed of Abraham. Because that throws up their whole vision. It's this vision they have of they're good people and they're doing God's will. Because if we choose Abraham, that kills that lie right there because they're cursing us. And the Bible says he who cursed Israel be cursed, who blessed Israel be blessed. So they said false Israel and they blessed them while still cursing us. See? So this became complicated for them. Because see, I don't want to go too much detail in this, brothers and sisters, but see, you had two contenders, right, for that title, seed Abraham. And if you don't understand the history, see, the 12 tribes, right, not just true 12 tribes, but just false 12 tribes, right, Judah was the top one. That's where the word Jew came from. Then you had the other 11 tribes. But that's the rest of Europe, because they're one people. The Quran says they're all one nation. They're not separate nations. They're all one nation. There's different aspects of it. And the top tribe was Judah. That's where the word Jew comes from, right? Okay. So the 11 tribes that fell away, right, became barbarians or whatever. The Rome, all of them, they fell away, right? But the Judah, they stayed with the scripture to some extent, right? But then, when Jesus came along, the scripts, they flipped the script, right? So the 11 tribes, they identified with Jesus ultimately, like I said, right? But Judah went against them. See, that's the story. So now they're saying Judah was supposed to be the seed of Abraham that would inherit the promised land. See, now they claim that Exodus happened a long time ago. But if it did, Then how come they don't have the promised land? Because it says once they was replanted, they would never be uprooted. But they didn't have control of that. The Romans, everybody had control of it since then. That's sure that wasn't in the past. Because they would have control, it would be consistent control all the way up to now. They haven't. They said they lost it for thousands of years. That's not supposed to happen if they trusted Abraham. So their rejection of Jesus, according to them now, right, made them the spiritual seed of Abraham. See? Because they connect Abraham, but they wasn't given the inheritance. They wasn't given the blessing of the inheritance. It was Judah was. But now since Judah abandoned, so that he lost, the contract was broken, then they inherited. So now they're spiritual Abraham. You understand what's going on here? So they had two contenders, and so they spent the next 2,000 years destroying their opposition. I mean, their competitors, the Jews. Because Jews still insisted that it was the true Abraham and everything else. They had two contenders for that title, and so they called them Christ killers, and they spent a couple thousand years just trying to eradicate themselves. In fact, the Jews found refuge under the Moors, who was controlling Spain for about 700 years. That's another story. Okay. So, now you got spiritual Abraham, that's the Europeans, and you got the claimants now. You got the Europeans as the claimants of the seed of Abraham. They call themselves spiritual. And then you got the false Israel, the Jews, right? Because they said in Injil, they're the synagogue of Satan. So those who call themselves Jews are not the synagogue of Satan. But anyway, they were claiming, so you had these claimants, and then the Europeans, when they got a power, they was trying to destroy the competition. So it wouldn't be only one claimant. And they kept doing this, oppressing, until finally they came with a so-called final solution. That was Hitler. He was going to eradicate all of them. So there was only going to be one. See? And then came along Master Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad said, no. There's another claimant here, and we got the proof. We got the evidence. That's the original people here in America. That was a problem, because we did have the evidence. We've been here nearly 400 years. Everything was brought from a foreign country. They couldn't prove, the Jews could not prove that they was ever in a situation like that. They couldn't prove it. There was no proof of it. Plus, they told Jesus themselves. Remember, now this is 2,000 years ago, according to them, right? Now, this supposed to happen 4,000 years ago, the Exodus. It's supposed to happen 4,000 years ago, right? Now, when Jesus confronted them, he says, know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. What did they say? What you talking about? We never been in prison anybody. They deny having ever been in slavery. See? So that shows you right there. And that's 2,000 years. So that means it didn't happen in the past. It never happened to them. They said it. And that's what Jesus told them. He said, no, you're Satan. You're the devil. He called them. That's why he said, why they wanted to kill him. And when Elijah Muhammad said the same thing Jesus was saying, oh man, he can't be saying. Well, that's what Jesus said. So you call Jesus anti-Semite? Jesus called them devils. He called them devils. See? He said, you're liars and murderers. He says, yes, your nature. See, Pharaoh said, no, we can't call them devils, no one, everything. See, you better think about this, brother. Says, this is what the scripture said. Everything I said, you can prove it. I'm not twisting or distorting anything. I'm not bringing in a tailor with the alterations, trying to alterate this to fit some agenda. I'm just telling you like it is. See? So when Elijah pointed that out, we got another contender, and he's got a legal claim. He got truth and everything. So then they had all of a sudden, the people they've been trying to destroy for thousands of years, for almost 2,000 years trying to destroy them, for over 2,000 years trying to destroy these people, and they come to the point where they had found a solution where they actually literally burning them up in the ovens. All of a sudden, overnight, they loved them. Now you think about that. How did that happen? Overnight, they started loving them. Their asses became honey pots, and everybody was eating the honey overnight. And then they had set them up, and America spent billions, almost trillions of dollars supporting them. And instead, when the true Israel goes back, it said it'd be on the spirit of God, not by the spirit of man, but they were set up by Gog and Magog. Britain and America set them up. And they put all kinds of money to make the military support, economic support, political support, whatever, to keep it going. Because they have to have an agenda. They have to say that if they're the truth, because they had to counter. See, they had to counter what Elijah said by having them come back. See, they know it can't be these Negroes over there. These are true ones right here. See, they return, and everything the prophecy says. And that's a lie, because the prophet says the promised land would be Arabia, between River Euphrates and the River Egypt. But they got this little place, Palestine, where they rip and beat people and everything else. See? You understand what's going on here? But they don't want you to know that. They don't want to tell it to you like that. See? They don't want to tell it to you like that. See? So I'm going to hold you right there for a second, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to make a slight break here. So, just bear with me for a second. Okay, back, brothers and sisters. Someone at the door. So they had to have a counter, and that's why they set them up. See, but that caused conflict between them and the Europeans, because you got a lot of so-called Christians out here, right? They didn't go along with that, because that threw off their whole eschatology. See. Because they was anti-Jew and everything. They won't say it now, but if they the true seed, that means their whole eschatology about them being a spiritual Abraham was in question, and that question, their whole idea about this being a promised land, all that kind of stuff. So they've been against that. Like people like this, people on True News, see, they're against them because they know nobody pays attention, nobody asks questions, so they can get away with it. But they know by going down that line, right? Because they still don't want to accept that. They ain't gonna accept that, right? But they have their verse to false Israel over there, because if they are the inheritors, then that puts in question what they're doing. That's why you got that split in the Christian community. And evangelicals, they're mostly for false Israel, and the other ones, they're kind of like, oh well, but they can't come out and be decisive about it, because then they have to come and say, well, we choose Abraham. They ain't going to say that ever. See? So that's the problem you have right there. See? So what does it mean? See, I'm taking down another path here. See? Hold on a second. We're going to check one thing right here quick, brothers and sisters. See. I'm going to take down another path here. And so you understand what's going on in the world today. See? Okay. Now you got another a contender, right? That's kind of like, tangential to this other, but it's still a contender. Who is at the Sunnis? See, and see, they like it's complicated with them, because see, their contention is this: See, Abraham had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac. See, Ishmael was his oldest son, but he was a son by Abraham's maid. And normally the oldest son gets the inheritance. But later, Sarah, right, blessed by God, had a son Isaac, and that's the one God blessed because he walked and talked with Abraham. So he blessed Isaac. He would be an inheritor. Ishmael didn't like that. He said, well, I'm the oldest son. See? And Ishmael are Arabs. See? Because they used to be black. They got circumcised. They got rid of that black skin. That's what, when they talk about circumcision in a spiritual way, they're talking about. See? Because they would be successful during this time of energy deprivation by getting rid of that circumcised, right? So that's what that means. So that's, a lot of nations did that. So get rid of that, that's another story I'm not going to right here, brothers and sisters. That's how they became white. That's why the Europeans call them desert niggers, see? Because they know they are brothers and sisters, right? But they transform themselves into white folks, white complexion, right? But a lot of them are dark. You don't see those. Just like in Hawaii. See, the original Hawaii was dark with gold. You don't have to take my word. Just Google it. Who was the prince? Who was the woman that was the princess that was in charge when they took America? America took Hawaii from them, and you got a picture of her. She's just about my complexion. You got nappy hair. Okay, I've been to Hawaii, so I know what I'm talking about. If you see the real Hawaiians, they're dark skinned. The ones you see are Polynesians. They mix with the Chinese and the Philippines and everybody else. That's not the Hawaiians. Okay. So this is the problem that you have with the Sunnis. Now they saying they're seed Abraham too, which they are. They say they're inheritors. So we got another claimant here. See? And they actually have possession of the land. They have possession of the land that's quote is the promised land. They have possession of it. See? So they have a problem too with us being true to Abraham. Because remember, they betrayed us. They betrayed Joseph. They betrayed their brother into slavery because they knew he was the inheritor. They betrayed us. See, that's another story. I'm not going into a lot of detail here. I'm trying to lay things out for you, brothers and sisters. They betrayed us because they saying we should be the inheritor. They should be the inheritors, and not us. And Joseph revealed to him that he was the inheritor, and they sold him into slavery to get rid of him. See, so now you got all these Gog. You got Satan. You got the Sunnis. All these making us claims. That's false Israel. They're identity theft, right? You got Gog over here, right? See, they took our humanity away, our identity, everything. They took everything away from us, right? It took us away from the land, everything. And then you got the Sunnis, right? They're against us because they actually sold us into slavery to get rid of. That whole idea was just to get rid of us. All these people making claims for that being the seed of Abraham, and all of them have different access to what our inheritance is. They're all living off our inheritance. All of them are living off our inheritance, every one of them. See, that's what I said. By your seed, all nations be blessed, because they all get successful and powerful. Because the false Israel got powerful by stealing our identity. America got powerful by stealing our labor and our minds, our creativity. And the Sunnis over there, they're powerful because our resources, they're getting rich off of selling our resources to the world. You understand what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? You don't understand these things. So they all have an agenda there. False Israel identity is to make us look totally like, because they stole our identity, so they got to destroy your identity. Or if you're going to take and say you're going to steal somebody's identity, right? You pretend you them. Well, you got two problems. First of all, you got to take that. Then you got to assume you got to make good impression that you're them. But you got to destroy their appearance to make them unrecognizable, so they can't come back and say, "See, here I am." Because if you don't, then they show up and they say, "Here I am," and they got the credentials. They got the identity, and then you say, "Oh man, you're a fake." See, when the real shows up, the fake. If the real, you put the real next to the fake, then the fake is revealed as a fake. See, The fake can prosper as long as the real doesn't show up. See, they destroy our image. And that's what they did in Hollywood and everything, destroy our image. I'm not getting to the demons here yet, but they use them to destroy our image. Well, I have to get to them because that's part of the reason why the demons exist. That's their slave masters' children that look like us, walk like us, talk, but they doing all this evil that their father's doing because they're evil as their father is, but we get the hit because it looks like us. So he said, see them niggas, how they act? That's not us. See, killing each other, black on black crime? No, it might be black on black crime, but we don't kill each other. That's the demons doing that. That's the demons making us stealing, ripping, pimps and murderers and all this stuff. They the clowns like Martin Lawrence and Crick Rocks and all these guys. That ain't us. See, you got the women on there shaking their ass like Jello and the man's head nose over her ass and shit. That is not us. That's them. See, so they use that to destroy our identity so the real thing is so marred that it shows up. See, because you can't show up as the real deal. So they say, oh man, you can't bounce it. Man, you can't get out of here, man. No, I'm really Adam. I'm really James. No, man, get out of here, man. Look at you all messed up, man. You can't see that he's the fake. But the fake looks real, and the real is all messed up, marred. That's the whole idea. That's why they got to make sure your identity, that you can't show up and say, I'm the real deal, because they marred your identity so bad, right, that nobody's going to believe you. Who's going to believe that you just choose Abraham when you out here, you're a dope dealer, right? You're stupid, right? You're a murderer. You don't take care of your children. You hear Farrakhan always saying you're sinful, you're sinful, you're sinful. He's the accuser. It says the accuser of our brethren will be cast down. He's the accuser. He's constantly accusing us. You're sinful. You got demons. See? But the devils, he lift them up. See, they ain't devils anymore. But you're sinful. You're demon. You're controlled by demons and everything else. See? That's what they had to do. So that's what they had to do. See? Now, what the students have to do? They have to get out your mind this whole idea about you to choose Abraham, because Elijah Muhammad put that in your mind. They got to snatch that from your mind. Because they treat you Sunnism. Because Sunnism, you ain't nothing. You're just a Negro with a Quran. That's all you are. Because this Quran doesn't say that Isaac is the inheritor. They make it, whatever they did to it, right? They have Ishmael as the inheritor. That's why they're trying to sell you Islam. They wasn't able to kill you by selling you slaves, so you survived. So now they taking survivors. They're trying to make, and now your survivors was raised up. See, Allah's coming and restored the covenant. Just came in and remind you of the covenant. Then they had to come and destroy that. That's why Pharaoh come and say, no, there ain't no covenant because you ain't going nowhere. That's what Sunnis want to hear, because if you go somewhere, where you going? You're going back, take your land back. If you go in somewhere, where you going? You're going back to Arabia, take your land back. Sunnis don't want that. That's why Pan Pharaoh kind of tell you, no, you ain't going nowhere. They're paying him off to do that. He's teaching Sunnism. See? So that's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. See? So you got what the Jews have to do, what Sunnis have to do. Get you into Sunnism or get you out altogether. But to get that idea out your mind that you the true seed Abraham. That all that belongs to you. See? So false Israel say, no, I'm the true seed. So they destroy your identity so they can stop your identity. So now they get blessed from all the world, America and everybody else. They're blessing them when they should be cursing them, and they're cursing us when they should be blessing us. See? And so now they're getting wealthy, rich, because they say it's a false Israel. They say they're the richest per capita of all the people in the world. Because they're getting all this blessing and everything from everybody else, because they're being blessed and while we're being cursed, we have nothing. And the Sunnis, right, they get super rich, right? Because they selling our resources, our land that belongs to us. See? And then you got America, Gog. See? They got rich of our wealth, of our energy. Slave, workers for nothing. That's capitalism. See, you love capitalism. Slavery was capitalism. That was the economic. Slavery was the economic part of what they did to us. What about the oppressive part? That had nothing to do with slavery. Slavery is an economic system. It had nothing to do with lynching and murder and raping and all that kind of stuff. They tell you it's lynching because they're trying to whitewash what they did to us. That was just the economic part. And that's capitalism. In other words, maximize your profit. In other words, if you can get people to work for nothing, that's maximize your profit. That's capitalism at its best. That's exactly what they did to us. That's the economic system of it. But what about the oppression part of it? That has nothing to do with economics. See? And they got rich by creativity. You don't understand that either. See? I'm not going to go into all the details about that. But the thing is you see, and then, so that's just those three. That's the three: Christianity, right? Judaism, right? And Sunnism. No, false Islam, if you will, because there's no mathematics related to it. All three against you. Those three enemies that's against you. You don't even know it. And some of you run over. You want to be a Jew, right? You want to be a Christian. You want to be Sunni. All of them got something trapped for you. All of them got something for you. They got some bait, right? And it's trapped for you. Those three right there, I just explained to you. It's Christianity wanted to do all this to you. Took your humanity away, took your wealth away, took your energy away, your health away, it took it all. Took your mind away, took it all from you. As far as Israel, that's getting rich off your identity. It's Sunnism that's getting rich off your resources. That's your land. And then you go to Buddhism and Hinduism. Okay, what about the Buddhists? Or you're going to call China Buddhists if you want to put in that category, right? They got rich off your jobs and everything that came out of your creativity that they sent overseas. They became powerhouse because those jobs that they made sure you didn't get, right? They got so they became powerful. And they want to keep that going. See? Because they could have trained you for those jobs. They didn't. They gave it to them. And what about the technology? That's going to Hindu. See, they want to keep that going because they became powerful and rich because all the technology jobs is if they couldn't send it to India, they brought Indians over to do it. And what they left you holding nothing. Don't you understand, brothers and sisters? You don't see this? I'm trying to make it clear to you. Everybody's against you. Everybody's living off of you. That's why it says, through your seed, all nations be blessed. Everybody's living off you. They're all parasites living off the elephant, the blind elephant. The blind, deaf, and dumb elephant, the Negro butt. And they're gonna suck your blood until you get anemia, which most of you got anemia already, until you're just dead. But they don't want you to die, right? Not right until they finish recreating their new world, right? Brand new world in this biological. I mean, this cyborg world, this mechanical, electronic world that you will not be in because they don't need you anymore. Only reason they freed you because they no longer need you. That's what happened when so-called slavery. They broke the chains because they didn't need you anymore. Because for the agricultural revolution, agricultural age to the industrial age, they didn't need you anymore. And they threw in their dish. They give you anything. They give you severance. Did they give you any land? They give you anything? So did you understand? You need to take and look. See, they don't tell you about that part. The period between the time that you go and now. Because when they let you go off that, you couldn't use off my master, get off my plantation, because he wasn't gonna let you stay on. He have his land. You wasn't work for him anymore. That's why a lot of people went back to slavery. They call it sharecropping, which they was actually the same day was before, but only difference is they was getting paid to pay for that shack they was living in, to pay for that shitless they was eating, to pay for the ragged clothes they was getting. They had just enough money to pay for it, but they were still in the same condition they was before, just had money. So they could say we were free. They wasn't free. They had absolutely no difference, except master gave money to pay for the situation that he was in. But you had nothing. You could, if you weren't a sharecropper, you could stay on the plantation, and you couldn't go on another plantation, and you couldn't walk the roads because then you was a vagrant, and they would put you up in chain gangs. So you had no food. You had no access to food. You had no money. Right? You had no access to anything. No schools, you didn't know anything. You didn't have any education because they made sure you didn't have no education. You didn't know which was north or south, anything. You couldn't even speak the language because they made the language that they told you use was very limited to pretty much master yes and master no, period. And wasn't no master no anyway. So you just master yes, master, yes, master, yes, master, period. And that's what you was, how did you survive? How did you make it through that? See, they don't talk about that period. See? Well, they're talking about Jim Crow and stuff, but that was part of that period. But they don't tell you the real fact of it because you had nothing. See? That's what they call a cruel joke. I put a whole presentation about a cruel joke. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? Everybody's against you. And you sitting around here, NFL, NBA, hit up everybody, and they're closing in on you. And the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is to eradicate you. That's part of what's going on with this jab thing, right? But you don't understand. I'm not going to that, brothers and sisters. But let me go ahead and then finish this up and close this out. Because I'm talking about God, I'm telling you long-term plans. See, what they're doing and what is false, this was long-term plan is, because remember, they want to take over the whole, they say that the whole old Middle East belongs to them, all of it. Because remember, Arabia is supposed to be, that's supposed to be the promised land, what they're supposed to have. They got a little piece over there called Palestine. See? And they say they control Jerusalem. What the Bible says, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, who controls Jerusalem? Who is the capital? Jerusalem capital of who? It said when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know their destruction is not means they're going to be destroyed. The Bible tells you that. That means it's not true seed of Abraham. They're not telling you that part. See, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, their destruction is not. That tells you right there that they're not the true seed of Abraham. But let's move on. So that's objective is to take control of all of that. That's the objective. Once you understand that, right? Okay. That's also America's objective. See, America's objective is take care of that, and also eventually they want to get rid of false Israel too, but they got to get rid of us first because they want to be the only contenders for it. Because they don't like Israel. Remember, they only use false Israel to achieve their goal. Oh, I forgot to mention. I talked about the religions. I ain't talking about the demons. See, we're going a lot of cover material here. The demons are slave master's children. See, they're against you too. Because they can't live off Judaism, they can't live off Christianity, and they can't live off, the only way they can live off you, because the master says they was master's children. And they was living off you when you was in chains. But then when you was out of chains anymore, then they said, Master, what are we going to do? Because that was masters their fathers, right? Well, you ain't going to live off us, niggas. You ain't going to live off us. Right? But you can live off of them. And so that's what they've been living off us. Farrakhan, the chief demon, for us. Because he ain't produced a damn thing. But he's pimping out sisters, fundraisers. Because his Negro, this demon male ain't doing any damn thing. He was selling that piece of paper they call final call, piece of crap. They're not doing anything. So they're living off them. And they've been living off us he asked for my economic program, he sent economics. So they've been living off us too. They're the ones you see in Hollywood. Remember, because that's what, see, all these things come together. Because that's what false Israel is using to mar our image. The demons. And they're getting rich off of it. Everybody's getting rich off of us. But demons went unseen until the mom exposed them. Because they've been unseen 600 years. They've been setting us up. They've been living off us all this time, but now they're exposed. Okay, so let's go back to the other. So what's empowering Sunnism? See, they control all the oil in the Middle East. They control Arabia and everything, right? But that's the promised land, the true promised land. But they're controlling it. See, and they say that's true. We inherit because we have the land. You know, say what possession is 7/10 of the law or something like that, 9/10 of the law. See, but what's powering them? Their power comes from oil. It's not coming from the Quran. It's not coming from their prayers. It's not coming from their prayer beads. It's coming from the oil. That's their power. See? And at one time, they was the main producers. They was almost the sole producers. Right? So the whole idea is they want to break their power, then they're eliminated as a contender. They're eliminated. Remember, because they're also a contender of who's the true seed of Abraham. And they have more credibility than false Israel has, right? And they got more credibility than Gog and Magog have. Because, I mean, they actually possess the land. They speak the language, right? See? And the whole 9 yards. See? but they never went into captivity. See? But they got possession of just about everything that Abraham, that they claim that Abraham would have. The two inheritors. Right? But they're all, see, so the thing is, if you can get rid of that oil, they would have no power, and then they have nothing but sand, and that's what's going on. Because what's happening is then you understand why America, see, that's why I had to get rid of Trump, because he didn't get the memo. Because America has lots of oil, but they don't want to use their oil. Oh man, because I told you it's also because it's global warming thing too. But I'm talking about this in the sense of long plans to get rid of. Because they said in 1990 when they took down the Soviet Union, they had a big old conference. And the thing is that on this show called McLaughlin Group, they have Pat Buchanan and some other people, and he stated clearly. Now it's hard to get it, but they have those papers up in a place in I forgot the name in New Jersey, where they have the stories, records and stuff. It's hard to get it because they ask all kinds of questions because they get his archives, right? But he says, now that we got rid of communism, now we got to get rid of Islam. That's what he said publicly. He said that's what all the people in Washington are saying now. And then then that's when all of a sudden, right, the campus BS about Iraq. That's an old story I can't talk about here, bro, because we'll be here for hours, right? They start attacking, right, Middle East. They moved into the Middle East in 1990. See? So the thing is that Trump was going to make America self-independent. But they don't want to be American independent. They want eventually, but they want Arabia to use up all their oil because they say Arabia's got maybe 30, maybe 40 more years of oil left because oil doesn't reproduce itself. That oil comes as decayed powder because that comes from millions of years of organic life dying and going to the ground and it eventually transforms into oil. Organic life, trees, animal life, whatever. That means the place used to be a paradise. It wasn't a desert. They don't tell you that either, because we actually covered with sand 50,000 years ago to protect it. Because we want to protect our inheritance. That's another story altogether too. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons why they're going with Russia right now. They're trying to sanction Russia because they don't want anybody to buy Russian oil. They don't want Europeans to buy Russian oil. They want everybody to buy. They're speeding up since 2020. They had to speed up their plan. They want everybody just to buy oil from because they telling Biden said. Pump more oil. Why don't you pump your own oil? Because they want them to use up all their oil. Because once all their oil is used up, they have no power anymore. They have nothing but sand. And also, the other side of it is they don't want them to have any industry. Because everybody that builds up industry over there, they want them to stop. Because if they have industry, then that means they can still survive economically. Because now they got industry. They got things they can sell, they can produce, see? But they stopped because who had industry? Saddam Hussein industry, he was building industry, they destroyed it. So nobody over there has an industry. Only one has any kind of industry is the Shia, Syria and Iran. See, you're starting to get the picture? See? So they don't want them to be told to have nothing. Only thing they can have to sell is sand. And nobody's buying sand. That means they will totally disable Sunnism. That means by that they cripple Islam. Because Sunnism is supposed to be the center, the cornerstone of Islam as we know it. See? And Iran is the cornerstone of Shia Islam as we know it. See? So that's why they're trying to get off. So once that happens, bam, they got them out of the way. That contender is gone. See? And then how does that affect false Israel? Because now they can buy up, because the people have no money or nothing, so they can go in there, either take the land or buy it. See, because they'd be selling because they need food. They don't produce their own food. See, they get off from every place else. That's where anybody tries to produce their own food or try to do anything, try independent other than oil, they stop them. Just like what they got to Gaddafi. Gaddafi says, "Hey, I'm not going to buy this I'm going to industrialize. Not only that, right? I don't want your money. I want gold." Because if it's money, that means because all the money was parked in America, and that's why he did Iran. That's why he giving Iran billions of dollars, like that guy was saying. That's Iran's money, because when the Shah was there, he put all that money in American banks, And so when he was disposed, they didn't get that money back to Iran. So they actually, for 30-some years of oil, they didn't pay a dime for it. They got the oil and got the money. They ain't telling you that part. See? That's why Iran is pissed off with America. And they talk about they're going to give them billions of dollars. No, they're giving their money back because they froze, didn't give any of that money back. The same thing going to do to Saudi Arabia because they don't have, it's not really as nice, Saudi Arabia, but they don't have, that money is over in American dollars too. So once oil runs out, they think they're going to have money, they're going to have nothing. Oh, they're gonna have, no, because they're going to say, oh, you was abusive to women or whatever. They're going to find some reason, they're going to give them a dime. So now they got all that oil from Arabia for nothing. It's only on books. They got it for nothing. Billions and billions, trillions of dollars worth of oil for nothing. They didn't pay a dime for it because they're not giving their money back because that's why they call it petrodollar. What's the petrodollar? The petrodollar means they only can buy oil with dollars. So that means Saudi Arabia can only trade with dollars. That means once oil runs out, who controls the dollars? And that's why Saudi Arabia now, sorry, I keep saying Saudi Arabia because it's not there. It's not their Arabia, right? House of Saud is actually Indians. That's another story together. That's another one of those tricks they got, right? But now they're saying, well, they're going to start trading in yang. I think that's the China currency. And America ain't going to, because that's what happened to Gaddafi. He said he wanted to go. He didn't want dollars. And so they had to get rid of him. Saddam Hussein said, I don't want dollars anymore either. I want euros. That's why they got rid of him. They ain't telling you the real story because they got plans for them. They want to fatally cripple Islam as they know it. Now they're out of it. That's the plan. See? And then once they do that, then false Israel can go in and now, because that's their agenda to take over all of that, because that's what's going to stop them. What's going to stop them? Only thing stopping right now is Iran. Iran's the monkey in the wrench. I mean, not the monkey in the wrench, but they stone their shoe. Only thing that's stopping them. See? That's why they got to take out Iran. You're starting to get the picture, brothers and sisters. You're starting to understand the plan. See, but when they take out Iran, because right now, Iran's the only reason why they ain't took out Arabia and all them other places right now. And Iran is industrializing. So if the oil runs out, they still got an industry going because they make their own stuff. That's what Syria was doing. They took out Syria because Syria was weaker. And they want to take out Iran because they want because what they did when they went out and when it was Saddam Hussein, what they did, they destroyed his industry. They destroyed his infrastructure. That's what they did. They didn't have to do all that. They did that because they didn't want him to have infrastructure, have anything. Only thing they wanted them to depend on oil. And when the oil runs out, then they're basket case, and they have to get rid of. They start dictating to them. Remember, dictators. Well, y'all gotta stop that Sunni stuff. Y'all gotta stop them Christians. What they gonna do? They ain't got no food. All they got is sand. They can eat sand. What they gonna do? That's the end of Sunniism and Shiaism if they get that far, as we know it. End of it. Because that's the only thing that powers them right now. If it wasn't for all, they wouldn't have any power whatsoever. None. Zero. You understand? Get the picture, brothers and sisters? See? But false Israel also knows that they false. They know it's a trick. That's why they act like they acting. Because they know once they take out Iran, if they can take it out, and Arabia runs out of oil, and they take up all Arabia, Iran, Iraq, all of that, they control it, right? They know America's not going to allow that. Because now, they're a big contender now because they say they got the identity, but now they own the land and everything. They don't want that because they want to keep saying that they the true seed of Abraham, that they the spiritual seed. But right now they serve a purpose. See? But so the only thing they can do that is first they have to get rid of us before they get rid of false Israel. They got to get rid of us. Because if they get rid of them, then we got the claim again. And so they're setting you up for destruction. It's a time stamp type of thing, right? The time, like this jab, you better check it out. It's time coded. See? That'll have an effect on you in the future. That's one thing. And then other plans to get rid of you. See? I'm going to talk about that more in detail pretty soon. See? But they got to get rid of you. And they got the demons to do that. I'm saying that you built to self-destruct. You're built to self-destruct. They program you to self-destruct. And once you self-destruct, then they don't need a narrative to prove that you deceive, a narrative to counter the they don't need have a narrative to counter that we're the true seed of Abraham. And when we're gone, so they don't need the false Jews anymore. So then they take them out. See, so they already got. As soon as they're gone, see, the only one they got now is us and false Israel. Now, false Israel, once they take over, they're more powerful. They got a better claim. See, so they definitely got to take them out, but they got to take us out first. Because they take them out first, then we have that falls back to us again, right back where they start. So they have to take us out first, then take them out. Brothers and sisters, you better pay attention. See, you keep going, NFL and NBA and all that kind of stuff. Keep thinking about that. While they plan this long-term plan, this is God. God is planning. It ain't gonna work that way, but that's His plan. See, and you say, well, it's not gonna work that way, but in the process of their planning, and before destruction comes, they're gonna take a lot of you with them because you ain't paying attention. That's why I'm trying to putting this presentation together about the 9 plagues. And brothers and sisters, that's really powerful. And it's very detailed, but I'm trying to work it out where I can't say too much, but I still want to communicate it to you, because that's about to happen. That's the war of Armageddon. And there's a lot of stuff going on in there that affects you directly. See, but I tell you, I'm telling them, I got to really think this thing through. I already made the presentation. I just got to figure out how to present it. So this is really a setup to that. This is really a setup to that. Hope you understand it, brothers and sisters. I try to put all these things together for you, but we don't see it that way. Oh, they good people. And they got a history. See, look at the Native Americans. Where are they at now? And you think they want to do the same thing to you? Let me say one more thing here real quick. I talk about reparation. I explain that to you. See, I don't think I'm going to go into that. That's a long, drawn-out situation, right? But that's one of the plans they had. Only thing that stopped them was Elijah Muhammad stopped it, because they would have gave reparation a long time ago. Because that was going to annul Abrahamic covenant. That was another way they were going to do it, annul it, because you're going to accept something else's payment for what they did to you. So therefore, you turn it from a criminal case to a civil case. And if once you accepted that, they was going to close the border. You got just 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 states, whatever, with no one. Because they're telling you all the topsoil they get right now is getting from Russia. That's another story altogether, right? But they was going to put you over there in your low topsoil where they're going to produce that much for that long, right? Low topsoil, right? And you got 4 or 5, 6 states, whatever, right there, landlocked, right? And they give everybody $1 million a piece. You say, oh, well, great. Then they close the border, and then they take all the people over here, all the white folks, and tell them, put your money in precious metals and things like that, and then they start printing money like crazy. In other words, your $1 million, a loaf of bread to go from $1 to $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. That was worthless. Now you over there with low topsoil, you with no money, you're landlocked. See, and you're dying, and the border's locked. Now you're begging Master to come back. See, but the only way they can implement that, they have to have 100% compliance. And the way I try to say it is, if you got 7 people, you're in a fight with 7 people, right, and you hurt them, right, then they want to press charge against you. So then in the hospital, you go and say, I pay you easily $10,000 a piece to pick up your bill and put some money in your pocket, right? And 6 of them agree to it, but one of them don't. It don't do you any good, because he still press charge. They're still going to jail. He's got to get 100% compliance. And they would have had hundreds. The demons are selling that to you. Farrakhan's selling that to you. But the problem is, they had Elijah Muhammad. He wasn't going to buy it. So they had to get somebody to sell it to you. And they had Farrakhan. They're fine. So everybody was going to go along with that plan until Suleiman come along and say, hell no, he ain't going along with it. If he's the only one, and they try to wipe him out, try to kill him, if he's the only one don't go along with it, then it doesn't work. Because then God would still punish them for what they did, because he still holds out. And he would still get, if he's the only one to get the promise, and he don't want to get it. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there. So let's go and check out our order, brothers and sisters. Okay. Oops. Kind of made a mistake here, brothers and sisters. Let me correct this real quick. Okay, brothers and sisters, audio brothers and sisters, this is the Black Alert segment of the fire zone. Black Alert out. Okay, brothers and sisters, hope you understand. Assalamu alaikum.